What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel, and it's time to give you a game preview / game prediction for the 2023 college football season. And our next game preview / game prediction will be Week 6 matchup between the Oklahoma Sooners and the Texas Longhorns. Big rivalry game here in the Big 12 coming up this weekend. And this is a big-time game. Both teams undefeated. A lot of storylines going into this game as well. Last year's game was not even close, but this year is shaping up to be one of the biggest games, I believe, in, Oklahoma and Texas football history. And also, this will be the last time that we'll see these two teams in the Big 12 going at it. So Oklahoma and Texas here, we're going to give you a game preview / game prediction on this game, go through the stat comparisons between these two teams, and then give you their last few games of the season of what they have done so far for the college football season. So we're going to get right into it here. We'll start with the stat comparisons between these two teams, between Oklahoma and Texas. I'm going to also give you, how the game will go down this weekend here. So let's get right into it. We'll start with the stat comparisons here between these two teams. Oklahoma, that come into this game with a record of 5-0. This team's averaging 47.4 points per game, which is really good for them. Oklahoma's offense very explosive this year, definitely in the passing game as well. Look at the total yards, 510 total yards per game this year for this Oklahoma team. Passing yards, 352.4 yards per passing. Dillon Gabriel looking like one of the top quarterbacks in the country, and also definitely in the Big 12. He's had a really good season so far. Rushing yards, 157.6 yards per rushing. They're not really the best when it comes to the ground game. I think this Oklahoma team is more like a passing attack team. So other than that, though, the offensive stats are pretty good for Oklahoma. Then you look at this offensive ranking, 9th on offense, and then defensively they're 31st in the country. That defense has been pretty solid. That's been the most impressive thing, and the difference about this Oklahoma team this year is definitely the defense. And then you look at Texas. They're also coming into this game with a record of 5-0. We just mentioned earlier that both of these teams are undefeated going into this game. Texas, they're averaging about 36 points per game. You'd probably think that offense is not very explosive, but I think it is. It's more better than it was last year. Total yards per game, 478.4 yards per total yards this year. Yeah, Texas's offense is much better than it was last year. Passing yards, Quinn Ewers having a really good season. He's got 286.6 yards per passing. Probably one of the second best quarterbacks in the Big 12, perhaps. Rushing yards, 191.8 yards on the ground. This Texas team has really good running backs. I think they're going to have to need them in this game against Oklahoma's defense. I think Oklahoma can really stop the running game pretty good. So we'll see what Texas's running game does in this one. And then you look at their offense and defensive rankings. They're both pretty similar. Offensively, 16th in the country and then 18th on defense. That defense has been pretty solid for Texas this year. And, both defenses have been pretty solid, but I think Texas's defense is much better. Offensively, though, Oklahoma has one of the best offenses, in the Big 12. So it's going to come down to both offenses in this game and both defenses as well. And we're kind of expecting a shootout. So these are the stat comparisons. Again, stat comparison-wise, Oklahoma has the advantage in the total yards, passing yards, and then the running game belongs to Texas. But the strength of these teams is definitely the defenses, so these are the stat comparisons between these two teams. Let's now get into the game summary for both of these teams. And this game will be at noon Eastern Time this Saturday on ABC in Dallas, Texas. Texas favored by 6 points, and the over and under is at 59.5. Both of these teams ranked in the top 25. First time that they've had a top 25 matchup in a while, I think. I think both of these teams are not ranked in the top 25 last year when these two teams played. Both of these teams also undefeated at 5-0. They've been really solid teams this year, and this is also the last time that we're seeing Oklahoma and Texas in the Big 12, and they kind of want to, finish out the Big 12 really strong this upcoming year. But this game's this Saturday at noon Eastern Time, so I'm kind of surprised that it's a noon game and not a 3:30 game, but I'm glad it's a noon game. It's an early, kickoff time. So again, this will be on ABC in Dallas, Texas. Is a neutral site venue. It's not going to be at Austin or Oklahoma. It's usually a neutral site game between these two teams. So again, Texas is favored by 6 points in this game. I think, the FBI likes Texas in this game as well. And, you just look at what Texas has done this year. They have that big win over Alabama. I think that's the reason why they like this Texas team. And Oklahoma hasn't really played anybody that tough yet. I mean, they've had a tough game against Cincinnati a couple weeks ago, but they just have not played their toughest competition just yet, and this will be their toughest one yet going into this weekend. So Texas favored by 6 points as of right now. Again, that line could change. That spread could change by the time we get into my upset alert video tomorrow. So Texas and Oklahoma again. This game's at noon Eastern time. The over and under is at 59.5, so we're kind of expecting maybe a low-scoring type game or maybe a high-scoring. I'm kind of predicting a high-scoring game in this one. So this is the game summary here for this game this upcoming weekend. Let's now go into the game results from the previous games that both of these teams have played. For Oklahoma, they defeated Arkansas State on September the 2nd. They scored 73 points in that game. SMU 28-11. That was a pretty tough game for them. Tulsa and Cincinnati, they both defeated those teams on the road. Cincinnati, their first Big 12 game was a pretty tough one there. They only won that game like 20-6, and then Iowa State, they won that game this past weekend 50-20. The offense was so much better in that game. So Oklahoma comes into this game, 2-0 in the Big 12. For Texas, they're also 5-0. They defeated Rice on September the 2nd, 37-10. Had that big win on the road at Tuscaloosa against Alabama, 34-24. September the 9th, Wyoming. They defeated them 31-10. Then they defeated Baylor and Kansas in their first Big 12 games of the season. They defeated Baylor on the road 38-6. That was a pretty solid win there. And then they had a really good win against the Jayhawks. Jalen Daniels went down with an injury in that game, so I think that's the reason why Texas won that game big. But you look at the previous game results, both of these teams, I think Texas has been more dominant than Oklahoma. Oklahoma hasn't really played anybody that tough except for maybe Cincinnati. That was probably their toughest game on the schedule, so far. But, Texas really has played some tough teams. They played Alabama. They played Baylor on the road. Those have been their toughest road games. But other than that, Texas, I think, has had more dominant wins than Oklahoma. But we're going to find out which team is going to be dominant going into this weekend. So these are the game results from the previous games for both of these teams. All right, let's get to the prediction now of how this game will go down. I think this is going to be a big-time shootout. I think this will be one of those games that, go down to the wire, and also this will probably be the best Oklahoma versus Texas game that we've seen in a long, long time in the history of the Big 12 and the history of the rivalry. I think it's going to be a pretty good one between these two teams. I know a lot of fans are looking forward to this game. I'm not sure if College Game Day is going down here to this game, but I think they are going to go to this game because both teams are undefeated. Or maybe they go to Texas A&M for Alabama and Texas A&M. There are a lot of games coming up this weekend that are really going to be good. But I like this game to be at College Game Day. If I was going to be a College Game Day host, I would definitely go to this game. But here's how I think the game will go down. I think it will be a shootout here between these two teams. I think both defenses are going to want to rely on their defenses in this game. Offensively, though, I think, Oklahoma has the better offense. But I think a turnover probably changes the game later in the game. I do trust Texas's defense to get it done. And I'm going to go with the Longhorns. I'm going to pick Texas to win the final game here in the Big 12 between the Sooners and the Longhorns. And my final score prediction will be 35-30. And let's say that Oklahoma has a final drive to probably win the game, but, a turnover probably changes the game from there. And that's what happens. Texas, their defense forces an interception or maybe a fumble at the end of the game. So, yeah, this will be how I think the game will go down. It will be a shootout, but it will come down to the wire. I like Texas's defense in this game to force a turnover at the end of the day. So I got the Longhorns winning this one 35-30. That is my official prediction for the Week 6 matchup between the Oklahoma Sooners and the Texas Longhorns. Let me guys know what you think about this game. Who do you think wins it? Who do you think wins the final game and the final rivalry in the Big 12? Let me guys know what you think and give me your final score prediction down in the comments below. And stay tuned here for more sports content videos on my Lucas Ross Sports channel.